Hi there, this is Brent Harris, and in today's talk, we're going to develop a concept that I had in just the previous video. The previous video was called Enter into the Flow State, and the title of this video is Operate from the Flow State. I've been exploring this for a long time. As I mentioned in the prior video, you really should check it out if you want, in order for this one to make sense, but the brief synopsis of the flow state is it's something, it's a kind of a study and a subject that came out about 10 years ago. The term was coined by a writer called Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and the book is called Flow. And it's about this very natural state that all humans naturally find themselves in. It's the state of focused, relaxed attention. When you are working on something, working on like a challenge or a project, or you're doing something, and the challenge is just the right amount for you in the sense that it's not too much for you in such a way that it would be overwhelming, but not too little in the sense that it would be boring or just uninteresting. It's just like right on. And you are fully engaged with it. There is a goal typically that you're working towards, but there's no sense of like urgency or like kind of that frantic energy of trying to get to the end of it as quickly as you can. It's like every single moment you're just in it step by step. And so you see children like in the playground, you'll see them building sandcastles, and that's in a state of creative flow. If you're playing a sport, if you're driving and you're just kind of like listening to some music and you're not in a hurry to get to the destination, when you're typically just when you're enjoying yourself doing whatever it is that you're doing, that would be to be in the state of flow. And it's my observation that all of us, we tend to move in and out of the flow state as adults. So there are times in our life when we are in flow, and there are times when we're not. And the quality of our life really could, from this perspective, be determined by how much time we spend in flow. The opposite, to not be in flow, we could call anti-flow for now, if that's useful. And that's when you're doing something and you just don't like it. You're not in a state of acceptance with it. You're just like, whatever it is that you're doing or whatever it is that you're going through, you're just doing it so that you can be done with it. And you're sort of mentally not all the way into it. Like there's a part of you that's doing it, but there's a part of you that's like kind of sort of holding yourself outside of it or above it, or kind of like in your headspace. And so what's interesting about the flow state is that when you are in it, not only is life enjoyable, but whatever it is that you are working on, you tend to get the best version of it. It tends, whatever fruits blossom from the flow state, they tend to be really good. They tend to be things that people want, people like to observe, people like to consume, and so forth. And whatever is made from the anti-flow state is often mechanical, ugly, devoid of juice. Or it can be, if you've ever been to like a restaurant or a bar, or if you've ever been to a party, or if you've ever read a book, if you've ever just kind of like, consumed some kind of a production, that it seems like all the elements are there and yet it's lacking something. You're like, it's so weird. All the things are there, but it's just not what I'm looking for. That tends to be something that was made from a state that is other than flow. So that's kind of the brief overview. So in the previous video, we talked about getting into the flow state and how to do that specifically, and how to enter into the flow state with things that you just don't really like doing. And in this video, I want to invite you to enter into the flow state and stay in it and operate from it, and allow this to become your primary MO. I have a couple notes I made here. I want to make sure I'm on point. And so it's okay. So first of all, I'd like to address one of the main issues that prevents us from being in flow, and it's this old frame of mind that we have about work. And so it seems to me that this is a frame that's been passed down to us from, from our parents and their parents before them and their parents before them. It's just sort of like an inheritance almost. And it's this idea that in order to get what you want, in order to accomplish something, in order to bring your goals or your destiny into your experience, you have to work for it. And work is not the same as fun, and it's not the same as pleasure, and it's not always the same as enjoyment, although sometimes work can be enjoyable. But work, if you just look at it, look at the term itself, work tends to connote this sort of heaviness. It's a sort of like an activity that you do only so that you can get the result. And so as a result, whenever we're at work, we're rarely enjoying ourselves, and it tends to be the worst part of our moment by moment experience. It's just like, Monday comes around, it's like, oh fuck, I have to go to work. And maybe there's some good aspects about work, but work in general is just not good, something that we would bypass if we could. And what's interesting is that we're really indoctrinated in this frame that we only get what we want if we work for it. And so not only does that put us in a place where we're working and we don't like it, but also if we've ever been in a situation, if we've ever experienced a situation where we get what we want, but we don't feel like we earned it, or we don't feel like we deserve it or work enough for it, then we tend to reject it. We tend to push it away. We say, no, I'm not ready. No, I don't deserve this. We push it away, despite the fact that we want it and we're asking for it on some level. I thought that's interesting. The problem with this frame is that, the problem with the frame of work is that typically a lot of us, not only do we feel like we need to delay pleasure and kind of withhold our sense of happiness and wellness and peace in order to get what we want, but we tend sometimes to do it indefinitely. We just stay in a state of undeserving. We tend to really internalize this idea that we don't deserve what we want. And that is often permanent for a lot of people, or it doesn't come until very, very, very late in life. So that's the old frame. And so there's a new frame, and this is what I'm discovering just this week. And by the way, just in general, when I'm making these videos, it's my commitment to you to give you insights and things that occur to me when they're hot off the press. So you'll hear me talking in these videos about things that just occurred to me over the last couple days. And so the new frame that I feel like a lot of us are moving into now is this frame of flow. And the fundamental difference is that there's no earning or deserving that really comes into play. When you operate from the flow state is the goal on its own. When you're in the flow state, there's no need for something in the future to come to you. There is something that you're working toward, but there's also this tacit understanding that when you get there, it's not going to be much better than how it is right now. A good example is if you have a good video game that you're really enjoying. The purpose of the video game is to get to the end. But that is where perhaps a lot of your effort and energy and creativity and focus is toward. You are moving towards that goal at a very steady pace of getting to the end of the game, getting all the prizes and so forth. But you're also aware that when you get to it, the game is over. And all that means is that it's time to get the next game. And you know this on a deep level. And so that's kind of, it's almost a paradox that, you're moving towards the goal, but you don't really desire too much, not too much to get there. I want to invite you to start making your life this way so that when you enter into the flow state, you are in a state of it's a balanced state that every single moment is enjoyable. And not only that, but every single moment is the gift unto itself. So yes, that is the primary thesis of this video. And so I want to add one more thing at the very end here, which is another topic that's been bugging me a lot, which I finally feel like I'm getting some clarity on. I'm going to tell you as soon as I'm done sipping this water here, because I am unusually parched today. May also be all the coffee. The topic is the actualization of one's potential. There's a chance that if you're like me, then you find yourself in quite a heavy fear that you're going to find yourself at the very end of your life on your deathbed, you know, and you're looking death in the face and you're about to die. And you have this feeling of regret or shame that you didn't actualize all of your potential, that you didn't get everything done that you felt like you were going to get done, that you were holding back in some way out of some sort of a fear or self-consciousness. That's a really scary thing for me. It's been very scary for me for a long time because, like yourself, perhaps, I feel like there's a lot that I wish to accomplish in this life, and I feel like there's a lot that I have to offer, and there's a lot that I'd like to see become of myself. And when I'm in this fear, I'm also in this kind of heavy frame of time is running out, where I always feel and experience time running out on me. And this is on a micro and macro scale. So like on an hour by hour basis, if I ever have a free hour, I'm always conscious of whether or not I'm wasting it. And that applies to any given month and any given year. Have I used this year effectively, or have I wasted it? And this fear of wasting time is just heavy. What I realized when I was exploring this concept of the flow state is that when you stay in the flow state, when you stay in a place of enjoyment, where you are moving intuitively and you are following your curiosity, following your interest, and following your passion. If there's no passion, then just curiosity is good enough for now. Like this feeling of like, oh, I would like to do this, or I would like to, you know, try going over here, or I'd like to read this book. That's kind of like following the flow state. Every minute you spend in the flow state is a minute that is not wasted. Because to operate at your fullest capacity as a person in any given instant, in any given breath, the only acid test is whether or not you are in flow, and whether or not you are moving more deeply into flow or moving out of it. We'll see as time plays out, but it really seems that the actualization, the full actualization of one's potential, where a person accomplishes everything that is possible for them to accomplish in one lifetime, for them to express all of their gifts, and for a person to manifest all of their abilities, all of their hidden talents and abilities, so that they can, you know, develop them and use them in real life. That is determined by the extent a person remains in creative flow. So I want you to feel safe exploring the flow state, and yes, and again, operating from there. Okay. Yes, time is, and I have this note here that says, you know, time is on your side when you're in the flow state. So remaining in flow, whatever, you know, however time passes, if it feels like time is passing quickly or slowly for you, as you're in the flow state, it only means life is getting better, and it only means that life is going to start answering your prayers, start answering your requests, start, you know, giving you that which it seems to have been withholding from you. Life in general, it seems, only withholds from you that which you're asking for, as long as you are operating from a frame that says, I need to work in order to earn it. It's not true. This whole idea of deserving and earning is not true. If you ask for something and you desire it and you want it, that's all the deserving that is ever relevant as far as the universe is concerned. The universe's natural way is to match the request, is to bring that which is requested to the requester. So time is on your side as you're in flow. It starts to reflect what you're asking for. And yeah, that's it. Cool, that's all I got for you. Let's explore this together. If you have any questions, if you find that this is resonating with you, and if you find that perhaps you've been doing this is something that you've already been aware of, but you've had like a different name for it, I would be very curious to hear about that if you'd like to leave a comment. And as always, if you'd like to talk about this in a one-on-one setting so that we can apply this to your specific life so that you can start experiencing this quickly and rapidly, hit me up for a free session, because I'm a life coach and this is the great majority of what I do. Lovely. And if you want to learn more about that, go to my website, which I'll have in the description. Cool. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll catch you later.